Lagos Talks
91.3.
News.
Thanks again for staying with us. The House of Representatives has called on the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to ensure adequate supply of premium motor spirit, better known as petrol, within 7 days. At the plenary on Tuesday, the House particularly had asked the NNPC Limited to end the artificial scarcity within the next 1 week in order to ease the suffering of Nigerians, while calling on the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission to seek collaboration of the Nigeria Police Force and the DSS to ensure that fuel is sold at the regulated price and in all retail outlets. The House of Reps further mandated its committees on petroleum resources downstream and legislative compliance to ensure compliance with the resolution. The Nigerian Senate is set to receive and deliberate on the report of the Senator Uba Sani-led Committee on Banking on the rationale behind the new cash withdrawal limit policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Senator Uba is also expected to brief his colleagues on the outcome of the screening of Edward Adamu and Aisha Ahmad as deputy governors of the Apex Bank. A member of the committee, Senator Olubunmi Adetumbi, in a point of order, informed his colleagues that the report, which was to be presented at yesterday's plenary, had to be withheld because Senator Sani is away for the All Progressives Congress presidential rally held in Kaduna, as he assured that the report was ready.
Governors, the deputy governors, gave very elaborate explanation, and the committee actually requested for The committee also requested for further evidence in terms of documented reports that will enable the committee to fully understand the issues behind this policy and be able to brief the plenary appropriately. Unfortunately, this report is not ready today because the chairman of the committee is busy on political assignments in Kaduna. He had to receive important party officials in the presidential train. And he has asked me to offer this explanation to the plenary that he is coming tomorrow to actually present the formal report of the findings of the committee. This is an apology from the committee.
In his remarks, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, appealed to lawmakers to be patient as the findings of the committee will be unveiled within a few hours.
In addition to what he said, the All Progressives Congress, APC, is today holding a zonal rally hosting the presidential candidate of the party in Kaduna. All the 7 states will be converging in Kaduna. And you know that our chairman of banking is a gubernatorial candidate of Kaduna State. And naturally, we shouldn't expect him to be here at this time because it needs to be there. But we also felt that we should hear from him, the chairman. He told me the report is ready, but he would like to be here to present the report tomorrow. And on the basis of the report that he presents tomorrow, then we can take the next appropriate line of action. Is that okay?
In the meantime, the Senate has considered a bill seeking to empower itself to ratify the decision of the President to sack the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. The bill was passed for second reading at the upper legislative chamber after Senator Chukwuka Otazi had moved the motion.
Issue of security of tenure for the executive chairman of the commission. For other anti-graft agencies created through the legislative instrumentality, before and later, that is, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, and Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, the National Assembly ensured that the headship had security of tenure by ensuring that their appointments and removal, as the case may be, were subject to the confirmation of the Senate. That was not the case with the EFCC. Therefore, in this proposed amendment, it is intended to bring EFCC in conformity with the other 2 anti-graft agencies of government. This will engender optimal performance of the commission, performance by the commission of the very important mandate assigned to it.
Correspondent Raliat Adenikon reports that the Senate President Ahmed Lawan, in his submission, said the law should ensure the successive heads of the commission are picked from within its ranks.
Or the committee should work hard to ensure that while we are looking for somebody from inside, that person, when picked, should be able to survive, should be able to have the support of his colleagues to succeed. But I also agree with position canvassed by Senator Samegu. He supports the bill, but also maybe people will be coming from somewhere else with fresh ideas to introduce fresh air in the system. These things, every argument has something to offer. But I believe that we should encourage people from inside to grow to be the leaders of the commission.
After consideration, the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes was handed a 4-week timeline for further legislative action. Nigeria and India have agreed to exchange vital intelligence on the activities of drug trafficking syndicates operating vulnerable drug routes between both countries, while India will also strengthen the capacity of the NDLEA officers with training. This was part of recommendations and agreements reached at the end of a 2-day bilateral meeting held in New Delhi, India, between an NDLEA delegation led by its Chairman Chief Executive Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, and its India counterpart, Narcotics Control Bureau, NCB, led by its Director General Mr. Satya Narayan Pradhan. The meeting also recommended exchange of best practices in drug demand reduction and sharing of real-time information on the involvement of nationals of both countries in drug trafficking, as well as conducting joint operations, while agreeing to hold another bilateral meeting in Nigeria next year. Another key objective of the India meeting was the collaboration between the NDLEA and the NCB on how to control the importation of tramadol above 100 mg, as well as certain categories of precursors into Nigeria. Nigeria has added at least 4,000 megawatts of power to its generation capacity, bringing the total to 22,000 megawatts of its generated power available in the country, according to the Minister of Power, Engineer Abubakar Aliyu. The ministry has also raised transmission capacity with additional 6,000 megawatts of power, thereby strengthening the capacity of the Transmission Company of Nigeria to transmit more power across the country. The minister said, however, that despite the increased generation, the TCN and the distribution companies are unable to receive and deliver all the generated power to the homes of Nigerians, and that something was urgently being done to improve the situation. Engineer Aliyu explained that Nigeria was working closely with the German government to increase generation and supply of power across the country, using €2 million loan to raise generation capacity in 3 phases. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says Nigerian politicians are buying permanent voter cards from registered voters to harvest their voter identification numbers ahead of the 2023 general elections. INEC, while warning both politicians and unsuspecting and criminal Nigerians of the dubious acts, reiterated that no person will vote on election days without their PVC. The National Commissioner overseeing the FCT, Nasarawa, Kaduna and Plateau states, Muhammad Haruna, made this known at an event to launch the #YourVoteMatters project by an election observer group, NES Action, in Abuja. Haruna also revealed that 2 people were recently convicted for illegal possession of PVCs in Sokoto and Kano states. It may be just a new dawn for radio and advertising agencies, as a bridge has been created between radio stations and advertisers to make transactions easier through an indigenous tech innovation known as Radio Ad Spread. At the launch of Radio Ad Spread held in Ikeja, the Chief Operating Officer at Space Universe, Mrs. Olamide Alaba, said the technology developed by Space Universe captures adequate advertising radio analytics to enable advertisers make informed choices in the advertising buying and placement processes digitally from their comfort zone.
And also for the radio stations, this is Nigeria, but radio stations are able to provide services to people outside of Nigeria. So now people from other countries would see these radio stations, and then they are able to run their radio ads on these radio stations. So we are providing advertisers to remote access of radio stations, while we're also giving radio stations exposure to their global audiences.
Prior to the launch of the product, there were fears about the competition the technology might bring between companies. However, Managing Director at Mega Electrics Limited, Mr. Chris Ubosi, allayed the fears, saying the technology is only going to drive collaboration in the media space.
It puts everybody on a level playing field. It gives access to all the radio stations in Nigeria, gives advertisers access to them, gives radio stations the opportunity to put their inventory online. And like how you book airline seats, it gives you the opportunity to book airtime, and it more importantly gets you paid, because as airtime is booked, you're paid for them as you air them.
Similarly, CEO at Space Universe, Mr. Tunji Ido, had explained that radio ad spread takes records of how many times adverts are played, thereby putting to an end squabbles between radio stations and advertisers regarding the number of times adverts are played. He added the radio ad spread is a big win for all stakeholders with a view to market it internationally in the near future.
But with radioadspread.com, what you then have now is a situation where you can log onto your system and then see all the radio stations in Nigeria. You see their rate card, right? You see the programs. You can book your slots, and then you can then check out and upload your jingle as well as your AFCON approval, and the radio stations will pick it at the back end and they will run it, right? And you can see when they are running it.
Our correspondent Godfrey Gabriel reports that in attendance at the launch were President of the MIPAN, Mr. Femi Adelusi, President at Silverbird Group, Mr. Guy Mori Bruce, and some players in the marketing and advertising media space. A new action-packed show called Crime and Justice is now showing on Showmax. The show follows the Serious and Special Crimes Unit set up by the Nigeria Police as they try to unveil the conditions behind mysterious deaths and crimes in Lagos, with a team of elite detectives headed by DCP Femi Boboye. The show will expose insights on how to be more security conscious in Lagos and Nigeria as a whole and avoid becoming a victim of crime. Crime and Justice on Showmax can be streamed by signing up at showmax.com for only 1,200 naira. Viewers can also enjoy a free 14-day trial and can cancel anytime they sign up. Also follow Showmax at Showmax Niger on all platforms to join the conversation on crime and justice. On the international scene, South Africa's parliament has voted against starting impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa over a report which says he held undeclared foreign currency at his farm back in 2020. The legislators voted 240 to 148 against the move to impeach Ramaphosa yesterday. The ruling African National Congress Party, ANC, which holds a majority in the parliament, largely stood with Ramaphosa, preventing the motion from getting the two-thirds vote needed to proceed with impeachment. 4 ANC members of parliament, however, showed their opposition to Ramaphosa by voting in favor of impeachment, and a few more did not show up for the vote. The crucial vote came after a damning parliamentary report alleged that Ramaphosa illegally hid at least $580,000 in cash in a sofa at his Fala Fala game ranch. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov says he knows of no new scheduled talks with the United States over further prisoner exchanges. Ryabkov responded to comments by the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who told reporters this week that Washington expected an engagement with Moscow this week on a case of Paul Whelan, an American serving a 16-year sentence in Russia for espionage. Last week, Russia and the U.S. agreed on a prisoner swap involving the WNBA basketball player Brittany Griner for the Russian arms dealer Victor Bout. In business news this morning, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has said the number of fertilizer blending plants in Nigeria has increased from 4 to over 62 since the inception of the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, the PFI, with the production of over 60 million bags of 50 kg. Osinbajo, who made this known in Abuja at the Feed Nigeria Summit, noted that the federal government decided to deepen its investments in the agricultural sector through the inauguration of the PFI in 2016. Total production since the inception of the initiative is over 60 million bags of 50-kilogram bags, with the number of participating blending plants increasing to 62 from just 4. In the exciting world of sports, Argentina has qualified for the final of the World Cup Qatar 2022 after defeating Croatia in an exciting semi-final match. Argentina thumped Croatia 3-0 last night. Messi has scored from the spot and provided an assist as well. Manchester City striker Julian Alvarez got a brace. Argentina will now play in their 6th World Cup final with a chance to win their 3rd World Cup trophy. Argentina will now play the winner of the game between France and Morocco, which will be played later today. Reports also says Portugal Football Federation have approached Jose Mourinho over replacing Fernando Santos as the country's head coach, and the football body will even allow Mourinho continue as Roma manager ahead of Euro 2024. This follows last week's World Cup quarter-final exit to Morocco. Mourinho has been identified as the man to reverse Portugal's fortunes in their next major tournament.
Lagos Talks
91.3.
News.